Hello everyone, it's a Sunday morning in my neck of the woods here in Italy. Yes, I live in Italy. It has its beauties and it has its issues. Well, let's get into something. The Russians, Ministry of Defense, they came out with a statement which is pretty accurate because the Russians, when they state something, it's always precise. I think in the Donbass region, in one of their special military operations, they had destroyed various military vehicles which are part of Ukraine itself, and with other type of weapons destroyed as well. And 80 soldiers were killed. These are not regular Ukraine soldiers which were killed, they were Polish mercenaries, and that happened to be number one in the hit parade of Western mercenaries fighting in Ukraine against the Russians. It's a very, very tight rope which is Poland they're walking on with Russia, despite the arms which the West supplies. It comes over their border, and somehow these weapons get destroyed, or the Russians get in possession of it, or end up sold on the black market. This story connects to another story, and this I think happened about a few weeks ago. Macron, on the French press and the world press, we shall give Ukraine's Zelensky his famous howitzers weapons. I think they're cannons or something, heavy artillery stuff, yes. Well, he did send it, but it changed owner, and it ended up on the black market. The Ukrainians sold it on the black market to the Russians, and the Russians took it back to Russia, in some place in Siberia, studying it and doing retroactive technology. They're going to take it to pieces, study it. They're going to do their own weapons based on that type of thing. But this is a common thing in conflicts and in military circles. You know, one side gets in possession of the other side's so-called change game weapons, like they want to supply Ukraine with those radio control drones, which are practically like radio control cars basically, and ends up in their hands, Russian hands. This is the situation basically. These weapons are not going where they should go. Then afterwards you've got NATO countries that are going low on the stockpiles, and then the West promises Zelensky these so-called miracle weapon systems which take time to repair, to build, and you have to even train the people how to use it correctly, because they've got a nice collection of javelin and another type of weapon, Stinger with missiles. And Russians, I said, they're stun it, picking out the weak points out of these Western weapons, like the javelin. And Russians have sussed it out, fly at a very low altitude, less than 100 meters, and the javelin hasn't got time of the operator to lock into the target, and therefore is a more vulnerable target. Easy pick for the Russians, for the airborne forces. And talking about Ukraine, after the ghost of Kiev, we have the goat of Kiev. A goat allegedly triggered off a mine set up allegedly by the Russians. I find this hard to believe. And exploded, and it injured many Russian soldiers. Ukraine say these Russians were perpetrating this mine setting things near a hospital somewhere in Ukraine. Bit of common sense. If a goat jumped out and triggered it, it would blew up, and the goat would be dead by now. It's one of those BS publicity stunts by Ukrainians. They have to invent something to please the punters in the West. Because, after Lithuania blocked Kaliningrad, the access of essential goods from Russia to Kaliningrad, the EU had second thoughts and had an emergency meeting because better passing free access to this region. And obviously Lithuanians are not too happy. The EU, like Biden, is throwing like Zelensky, Lithuania underneath a bus. I think more like a tank instead. And to round off, how these collective West leaders, I think it was a German for one of those German ministries of ecological innovation or ecological rubbish. EU have to import coal from South Africa. The power stations. Well, I don't remember this, what you would call it, name of this guy. The German minister of the Schulz government, socialist, liberal Democrats, all that crap, neocons. He says, the Germans should take a good example from me. I don't have no more than a 10-minute shower. I've cut it down to 5 minutes, and the Germans should follow suit as an example. And he says, I don't even bother switching on the heating during the winter in my house or apartment. I believe so, because you're mostly in that ministry in Berlin warming your ass up at the taxpayer's expense. So you're a hypocrite, mate. So it's due to him. Europe imposed sanctions on Russia. Dragged Germany in the right mess, and even dragged even the EU down there. Follow the fall. No pity for the fall.